The year 2023 has seen a strong list of contenders for the best games of the year, but it has also been the host of many truly terrible releases. These are the 6 worst video games of 23. We begin with the 6th position, Redfall. Redfall is a game that has garnered negative reviews due to several aspects. Many players and critics have pointed out that the game lacks originality in its premise and gameplay mechanics, offering an experience that feels generic and uninspired. The game's story has been criticized for being predictable and for not offering enough depth in its characters and plot. Additionally, the graphics and visual quality of the game have been noted to not meet expectations, with animations and character models that seem rough and lack detail. Regarding gameplay, Redfall has been criticized for not bringing anything new to the open-world and first-person shooter genre, feeling like a generic version of other similar titles. Combat has been described as repetitive and unexciting, with a progression system that fails to meaningfully engage the player. Furthermore, technical and performance issues have been pointed out that affect the gaming experience, such as long loading times, graphical glitches, and online connection problems. In summary, Redfall has been met with negative reviews due to its lack of originality, unconvincing story, repetitive gameplay, and technical issues. In the 5th position, Quantum Error. Quantum Error has been the subject of negative criticism in several aspects. Players and critics have pointed out that the game suffers from performance and optimization issues, with frequent frame rate drops and excessively long loading times, which disrupt the gaming experience and hinder immersion in the game world. Additionally, the lack of originality in the game's premise and story has been criticized, feeling generic and uninspired. In terms of gameplay, Quantum Error has been criticized for its unpolished combat mechanics and confusing control system, making it difficult to execute basic actions and leading to frustrating situations for the player. The enemy artificial intelligence has also been criticized for unrealistic and predictable behaviors that affect immersion in the game. Another aspect that has received criticism is the lack of variety in the environments and enemies, making the game feel repetitive and monotonous after a while. Additionally, it has been noted that the game's narrative lacks depth and cohesion, with undeveloped characters and a plot that fails to capture the player's interest. In summary, Quantum Error has been criticized for its performance issues, lack of originality, unpolished gameplay mechanics, and unconvincing narrative, leading to a generally negative reception from players and critics. In 4th place, Crime Boss Rockay City. Crime Boss Rockay City is a game that has received negative reviews for its poor execution and lack of originality. Set in a fictional city dominated by organized crime, the game attempts to emulate the experience of being a crime boss, but fails in several key aspects. One of the main problems with the game is its repetitive and shallow gameplay. Missions mainly consist of performing monotonous activities, such as collecting packages, extorting businesses, and eliminating rivals, without offering enough variety or challenge to maintain the player's interest in the long term. Additionally, the game's narrative is weak and lacks cohesion. Missions and characters are not well developed, making it difficult for the player to become invested in the story. Dialogue options are limited and lack impact on the plot, making the player's decisions seem irrelevant. From a technical standpoint, Crime Boss Rockay City also has issues. The graphics are mediocre and plagued with visual errors, such as blurry textures and unrealistic character models. The game's optimization is poor, resulting in long loading times and frequent frame rate drops. In summary, Crime Boss Rockay City is a game that fails to meet expectations in terms of gameplay, narrative, and technical quality, making it a disappointing experience for most players. In 3rd place, The Lord of the Rings Gollum. While the game promises to explore the complex psychology of Gollum and his internal struggle between Smeagol and Gollum, its execution leaves in 3rd place much to be desired. One of the main criticisms of the game is its lack of originality in gameplay. Although it is advertised as a stealth and adventure game, Many critics have pointed out that its stealth mechanics are basic and uninspired, making it feel repetitive and boring compared to other games in the genre. Additionally, the game's narrative often feels disconnected and aimless, making it difficult for players to truly become invested in the story. The portrayal of characters and the world of Tolkien has also been criticized for its lack of fidelity to the source material, which may alienate die-hard fans of the original work. In terms of visual and technical design, the game has also come under fire. Many players have noted that the graphics and character animation are subpar, contributing to an overall unimmersive and unimpressive experience. In summary, The Lord of the Rings Gollum seems to have fallen short of meeting the expectations of both fans of the original work and adventure games, offering a generic and uninspired experience that leaves much to be desired. In second place, Stray Souls. Stray Souls is a hidden object adventure game that, unfortunately, fails to stand out in a genre saturated with similar titles. Although it presents an interesting premise, where players must explore dark and mysterious environments to find hidden objects and solve puzzles, the execution of the game leaves much to be desired. One of the main criticisms of Stray Souls is its lack of originality and variety. The environments and puzzles feel repetitive and predictable, resulting in a monotonous and unstimulating experience for players. Additionally, the game's story is rather generic and lacks depth, making it difficult for players to truly become invested in the plot. In terms of gameplay, Stray Souls also has its faults. The hidden object search mechanic can be tedious and frustrating, especially when objects are poorly designed or difficult to distinguish in the scene. This can lead to a frustrating and unrewarding gaming experience for players. Additionally, the game's technical quality has also been criticized. The graphics and animation are quite basic and fail to impress, contributing to an unattractive and outdated visual experience. In summary, Stray Souls is a game that, while presenting an interesting premise, fails to meet expectations in terms of originality, variety, and technical quality. For fans of the hidden object adventure genre, there are more solid and rewarding options on the market that can offer a more satisfying gaming experience. And in first place, Rise of Kong. Rise of Kong is a game that attempts to capitalize on the success of giant monster franchises, but unfortunately falls short in several important aspects. Although the concept of controlling a giant gorilla may seem exciting, the execution of the game leaves much to be desired. One of the main problems with Rise of Kong is its repetitive and uninspired gameplay. The game mainly revolves around smashing buildings and facing generic enemies over and over again, without offering much variety or depth in the gameplay mechanics. This makes the experience quickly become boring and predictable, without offering significant challenges or exciting moments. Additionally, the game's story is rather basic and lacks substance. The plot follows a generic script of giant monsters destroying the city, without offering interesting twists or memorable characters that can engage the player in the narrative. In terms of presentation, Rise of Kong also has its faults. The graphics and animation are rather mediocre, resulting in an unimpressive and outdated visual appearance. Additionally, the soundtrack and sound effects are quite generic and fail to create an immersive or exciting atmosphere. In summary, Rise of Kong is a game that, despite its interesting concept, fails to deliver an exciting and rewarding gaming experience. With repetitive gameplay, a basic story, and mediocre presentation, the game fails to stand out in a market saturated with similar titles. For players seeking a more satisfying experience, there are more solid options available on the market. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe. See you in the next video.